We need to do the answers for the Woolton Quiz 3 video. I have a little bit of a confession to make. When I uploaded the video last Wednesday, I put the wrong video on. It was an old one, and the thumbnail was correct, but the video wasn't the right video. Plain going over. And I didn't notice because I don't watch the videos on YouTube because basically I've already seen them. But one of our friends and contributors, Strawberry Fields, got in touch with me, left a comment and said, I think you put the wrong video on by mistake. So by then a day had gone by and 90 people had watched the video. So on the Thursday I put the correct video on with the same thumbnail. So if you're one of the ones of the 90, you're one of the 90 people who watched the video last Wednesday, you may be surprised to find that the answers don't match the video that you've watched. So before you look at the answers, have a look at the video again. Anyway, many apologies. I don't know how I did that, to be honest. I had 3 videos all pretty much called Woolton Quiz, Woolton Quiz 2 on this one, and I hit the wrong one when I've clicked it to upload it. Rightio, so on with the answers to Woolton Quiz 3, and this is going to be a little bit different because there have been so many different changes with some of these shops that there may be a few different answers, and also we all remember different things. So rather than me just say this is what it was, birds trying to find stuff for nesting now, noisiest garden ever. Rather than me just give you answers, I thought I would give you alternatives, and also the things that I remember might not gel with what you remember. So we'll go through different answers for the buildings on this particular row. Right, without further ado, let's get on with the answers to Woolton Quiz 3. Woolton Quiz 3 started off with this block of shops here. Do you remember what any of these or all of these were? To be fair, I have difficulty knowing what most of these were, but we'll have a look. So first of all, Sainsbury's. I think a lot of people remember what Sainsbury's used to be. It's one of those quite famous shops in Woolton. 1950s Woolton, and the shop in question is the white one with the car parked outside the front, and that used to be J.E. Morfitt, which was a butcher's shop. I think it later became J.E. Morfitt and Sons. Morfitt's Butchers also had its own abattoir at the back, so anything you bought there was going to be pretty fresh. Our friend Strawberry Fields mentioned in the video about Out Lane that he remembers the pigs squealing as they were led into the abattoir, but they also used to kill cows there as well. So yeah, as fresh can be. Now the one next door to Morfitt's, the one to the right, I have no idea what that one is, and even in photographs like this, the signage isn't clear enough to read. The one next door to that, where the Ying Hua is now, was called James Ash. Or probably more accurately, James H. Ash. I don't know what James Ash used to sell. I remember a Chandler's somewhere around here. Is that what James Ash was? If you know, drop us a comment in the comment section. This was the view from Loads Pond in the 1950s, and this is the view from Loads Pond in 2023. I didn't ask about the block of 3 shops on the right hand side of this photograph, in the quiz questions. I should have done really. I missed them out because I wasn't sure what they were. But the one on the left hand side with the car outside used to be a carpet shop. The one next door with the blue signage used to be Winnicott Poodle Salon. The one on the right hand side, I have no idea what that was. But again, if you know, please let us know in the comments. Be interesting to find out. Now the next question was, do you remember what was here before this block of shops? Now the only shop that I know from the past was the one that is on the far left, which is now William Hill's. That used to be a Tesco. I used to go shopping there with my mum and dad on a Saturday. But if you know what any of the others were back in the 1960s, 1970s, then please let us know. It'd be interesting to find out. But my question was, do you know what was here before these shops? And it was this. It was a garage serving petrol. On closer inspection of this photograph, it's pretty obvious that the shop, which is now William Hill, and the shop next door to it, which is now Marie Curie, which in my day used to be Tesco's, those two shops were there in this photograph. So that means that the other three in the row were later additions. I think this photograph, which I found on the internet, taken not too long ago, shows that these three shops are an addition, and this is exactly where that petrol station garage was. The next question was about the date on the wall of the coffee house pub, and I deliberately cut the date out of the video, even though I think it's probably not very visible. The date on the wall is 1641, even though some historians don't believe the date to be true. One comment which was left in the comment section was from Ian H. Jan. I hope that's right. Anyway, Ian left a comment which was very interesting about some of the locations in Woolton Village back in the day. But one very interesting one was that the post office used to be a coach garage for a company called Ridings, which I didn't know about, but obviously the post office is a pretty recent addition to the village buildings. It's been there as long as I can remember, but it's obviously a lot newer than most. The final questions were about these two buildings, the one on the corner, the white one with the colourful signs in the window, and the one next door with the black shutter. I guess I should have really asked what all three shops were, and the only reason I didn't was because I didn't know what the far end one was. But if you know, then please drop us a comment. It'd be interesting to find out. I had a long email from Hal Earp, who used to live in Woolton but has since moved to Houston in Texas, and he mentioned quite a few things about Woolton, but one thing he did mention was about the shop with the black shutter. And he remembers in his teens he used to do a newspaper round on a Sunday morning, and he compared it to mine, and yeah, they were quite back-breaking at the time. Sunday Times newspapers with all the magazines were really heavy. This is what Hal had to say. Mrs. Woolton was the owner of the newspaper delivery service. She originally ran it from her house in Linkside Road, but then she moved to the shop with the black shutters that you featured in the quiz opposite the elephant. So that my idea of what was there in the olden days, in the 1960s. This photograph was taken in the 1970s, so it's after Hal's memory. But the corner shop was a chemist shop, and I believe it was a chemist shop before this, but in a different name, and at that time the chemist himself was quite a keen photographer and took quite a few photographs of Woolton Village at the time. I don't know his name, and I don't know if we've actually ever seen any. But the shop with the black shutter, which Hal remembers as being owned by Mrs. Woolton, now has the name Doreen Pownall over the front door. And that was a newsagent's and tobacconist's. And this is where Hal's story gets a little bit weird. Back when I was 16, in the mid-1970s, I used to date Doreen Pownall's daughter, Janet, who was 15 at the time. And they lived in Linkside Road. And if you remember what Hal said, Mrs. Woolton's business started off from her house in Linkside Road. So two people who live in the same road have owned the same shop and run it as a newsagent's. Maybe they're related in some way, and it's passed from one to the other. Linkside Road is behind what I call the bottom shops on Hunts Cross Avenue. It was in easy walking distance from the estate I lived on. I used to walk to the bottom of Charterhouse, turn left, turn right down the back of the shops, and off to Janet's house. Even though we were 16 and 15, we did quite a few things. We went 10-pin bowling once, I think, in Birkenhead. We got the ferry across the river and back again. But we used to sit on her wall and have chats, laughs and jokes, and she used to say to me, "Jeff, if you touch my boobs, my brother's going to come out and batter you." So I presumed they were wired up to some kind of alarm system in the living room. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you got all the questions right, and I hope we all learned something as well. And once again, apologies for the massive cock-up. Catch up soon.